Disney Plus has a problem.
It's about bruh. It's about oh my god. It's about.
In fact, I would go as far as to say it's what's caused more people to be even warier of Disney than they already were. I'll expand upon my thoughts on Disney as a company and its slow decline from the example of pure creativity and innovation in the world of entertainment to this cynical corporate empire it is today in another video. Spoiler alert, Bobby Iger was a big reason for that, but he's recently retired this year.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
In the time it's taken me to make this video, somehow Bob Iger has returned. You're the reason this video is taking so long to edit. Disney Plus is great if you want to show the younger generation the stories you grew up with, or if you want to show the stories that Disney bought on its bloodthirsty quest for world domination and consumerism control. Yeah, when it comes to Disney Plus original content, the platform is mediocre most of the time, and all the other times usually it's bad.
Eat it up. Go play okay, 3, 2, 1.
There were still people in there.
This is the only language these people understand.
Sometimes family doesn't see eye to eye.
Ralph Boner?
Boner.
Fantastic. This was a huge waste of my time.
We have a few instances of good, arguably one if we're going to be honest, but most of the time, Disney Plus struggles to look like it was made with quality, and instead it often resembles something that was rushed out. Now, despite my harsh words, don't think I'm writing Disney Plus completely off as worthless and without value. Despite the Ohio levels of complaints I have regarding Disney Plus,
Down in Ohio, swag like Ohio. Down in Ohio, swag like
I would be lying if I said that every moment on the platform has zero value and nothing to offer, because that's simply not true.
They tell us it's tetanus. They sent us on missions, even though the others weren't stable. Some of us started dying off. I heard the brass talking about blowing the POW camp to hell to hide the evidence. My brothers, not evidence. So I bust out of the facility one night, brought them boys back. It wasn't long before it was only me left. And what did I get for saving their lives? For the next 30 years, they experimented on me, trying to figure out why the serum worked. There was a nurse. She took pity on me, wrote up some fake reports, something. She had me declared dead. That's who gave me this. Sam, I loved her so much.
We gotta do something. We gotta tell somebody.
No, leave me dead. My name is buried.
But
That's not how it works.
How does it work? The Force. What does it feel like?
Have you ever been afraid of the dark? How does it feel when you turn on the light?
I feel safe.
Yes, it feels like that.
Kindness, kinship. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do.
See, boys, everybody thinks they want freedom, but what they really want is order. And when they realize that, they're gonna welcome us back with open arms. To the Empire.
I've always been alone, so I don't feel the lack. It's all I've ever known. I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief? If not love persevering?
The point of this video is not to say Disney Plus is worthless, but why it is failing. Why is it a disappointment that is slowly leading the charge of shallow entertainment for the sake of infinite consumerism, and that even the general audience, who probably has no idea or cares what any of these words mean, have become fatigued over it. Yeah, that's right. We're beyond the looking glass now. Personally speaking, Disney Plus has been a never-ending train of disappointment being ran on me, and before any of y'all now to run to my comment section to tell me how much X series means to you or how Disney Plus is doing great and this is misinformation, number 1, cope. Number 2, it's lost $1.5 billion and shareholders and business analysts are worried. 3, they are doing budget cuts and increasing the cost of Disney Plus due to the vocal issues they themselves have admitted to. 4, your mother. 5, Disney Plus is owned by a mega conglomerate, not one small, independent, starving artist production company. They will be criticized from an objective standpoint just like any other company. Again, I'm not saying everything Disney Plus is a worthless pile of Utah garbage that has nothing of value to offer like your average American congressman or door locks in Ohio. Those skinwalkers are gonna get in there. Even with the mountains of garbage Disney Plus has turned out, there still has been some moments I've sincerely enjoyed or that were admirable. For someone to say there is literally nothing good whatsoever about anything on Disney Plus is just being hyperbolic and holding it to an unrealistic standard that they don't hold other pieces of media to, especially Disney, who, let's be real, has not been the beacon of quality over the years at the best of times. Even She-Hulk, a series that I personally found to be visually, narratively, spiritually, and sexually concentrated and constipated, pure crystallized, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, better win an Emmy, but you better not snub Patty, compound levels of meh in almost every single way possible, still had at least one moment, a sequence that I found interesting to some degree. For the record, I will never make a video on She-Hulk because that show is terrible. If I wanted to listen to upper middle class Americans cry about their first world problems, I just talk to any of the influencers who lecture about media they don't understand how to analyze and politics they don't properly understand because their worldview is completely skewed from the perspective of their own POV and the echo chamber they create for themselves because they do not know how to communicate with people without strawmanning other opinions or getting belligerent. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, let's get back to Disney Plus. For the sake of this video, I'm going to go over the big products that Disney Plus has produced over the years and my feelings on them. The Mandalorian has its great moments, and I always consider Luke Skywalker's return to be one of the greatest moments in the franchise's history, but for the most part, it's often just Star Wars the simulator. Do you remember this? Do you remember that? Do you want answers to anything?
Too bad.
Jon Favreau is being worked to the bone, and Dave Filoni has no conception on how to give definitive answers to anything. Don't worry, we will come back to him in another video. Shut up and watch this egg-eating merchandise demon run through its cues nest faster than Usain Bolt due to an oversaturation this winter on Disney Plus. Pre-order now for the backdoor pilot DLCs that come with every other episode. Jokes aside, I like the series well enough, and it has its good moments, but it's not the best of Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni, and I don't think anyone thinks that in the first place. WandaVision. What if the MCU remembered how to be sincere and creative for a few episodes, but gave up near the finish line and fully embraced the mediocrity that many had hoped Marvel had finally grown out of? It's not a terrible show, but the dip in quality is so drastic that almost everyone lost goodwill in the series except for hardcore Elizabeth Olsen stans, which, Lizzie fans, please don't come at me. I fear the fuck out of you people. Marvel's What If, you'll only remember it for the Doctor Strange episode, the T'Challa episode, and the pegging Peggy Captain Carter with the drip fit who may or may not be clapping Natasha's cheeks episode. Seriously, I don't really hear anyone talk about this show outside of those three things, and the meme. The Bad Batch. Not a perfect series in any way, but compared to many of the other first seasons of other animated Star Wars shows, The Bad Batch was pretty solid on a technical level and on a story level. I've heard complaints that it is not as good as the Clone Wars, but I hate to break it to you, my brother in Allah, but the Clone Wars did not start off that strong. In fact, the Clone Wars movie was pretty awful, and the early seasons of the show were basically just as awful. You've been blinded by rose-tinted nostalgia goggles and YouTubers grossly overhyping the series. If you need a guide that tells you to skip more than half of the series, you don't have a good show. You have a highlight reel disguised as a show. I like the Clone Wars. I would even go as far as to say I love many aspects of it, but it's not the greatest piece of fiction out there, and if there is any animated Star Wars show that's like Avatar: The Last Airbender for better or worse, it's not the Clone Wars, it's Rebels. Yes, I spent more time talking about two different shows than I did The Bad Batch. The show still has a lot to prove, and it's really not that memorable, but I do think it has potential. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Two boyfriends go on a pointless adventure to end up where everyone thought they would end up after the Infinity Saga ended. It's not the worst thing ever made, nor is it the best. It's just mostly forgettable beyond the highlight reel of clips and pictures people upload to Twitter and TikTok, like most of Disney Plus. Isaiah Bradley and Walker Texas Ranger were cool though. Loki. What if a series you thought was going to be about time-traveling men in black became about self-love to an extreme degree that even people from Alabama and the Targaryens would go, damn son, but it's still not as weird as Loki getting knocked up as a horse, so we got that going for us. Hawkeye. story, a well-written series that provides a lot of heart to Clint Barton, a character who for the most part has been ignored in the MCU, and gives an actual well-developed mentor-student relationship between Clint and Kate, allowing an organic passing of the torch that feels right and sincere. Also, Kingpin is there to make every Daredevil fan cringe internally and leave the worst taste in everyone's mouth, thus ruining what could have been a high note for the series, but left everyone fighting over the divisive ending and the inclusion of Kingpin. The Book of Boba Fett. The series could have been an emotional story for Boba that used his established history as a launching pad for a great story, but ended up a mess of confusing subplots till the show became The Mandalorian 2.5, and everyone questioned their faith in Favreau and Filoni, as well as wondering if Disney Lucasfilm just didn't care about the quality anymore because they think cult-like brand loyalty they've created will carry them through the finish line. Spoiler alert, we're starting to think Disney Plus thinks that in general. Obi-Wan Kenobi, a series I subjectively love due to it bringing back two of my favorite actors in Star Wars and introducing a new personal favorite of mine, but the series itself was a complete disaster from beginning to end, both on a production level since it was originally supposed to be a full film trilogy, but Iger took the anthology films out back and shot like old Space Yella, and on a narrative level to the point that unless you're willing to bend yourself into pretzels or turn your brain off, many of the creative choices in this series make the OT impossible. The way the series turned out is no fault of the actors or Deborah Cho, who tried their best, but if there was any question left on if Disney Lucasfilm has a quality problem when it comes to their live action productions, Kenobi made sure no one questioned that anymore. Miss Marvel. I don't really want to talk about this show because in the time it took me to edit this video, yeah, let's just move on. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Tell Uncle Marty he was right. Tell Uncle Marty he was right. Andor, a series that is beautifully made, thoughtful, and incredibly nuanced, yet is also unfocused, burdened with the fact that it has to be a prequel story in a time period of Star Wars that has been fleshed out to death, about a character who really feels like the writers were not as interested with him as they were with other characters, and the pacing is disturbingly slow. That being said, Andor Season 1 is the best thing on Disney Plus by a large margin, even if the pacing is horrifically slow and the title character is the least interesting thing about the series. Moon Knight, the series that kickstarted me even making this video because one of my Patreons requested my thoughts on the series. I'm sorry, Molly, I had to conflate this into a Disney Plus video. And listen, I've got a lot of complicated thoughts about the series beyond Oscar Isaac probably getting roasted in the group chat by Daisy Ridley and John Boyega for his very fake sounding British accent, but the show is pretty good. Moon Knight doesn't even feel like it's in the MCU for the most part, and that's a good thing. The story isn't focused on how it connects to the larger universe or the characters from other stories like the rest of Disney Plus has been for Marvel. It's solely focused on the character of Steven, Mark, the random taxi driver personality that I don't know about because I don't read Moon Knight comics. Sorry guys, I'm more of a DC fan. Why can't you be right? Why can't you be good? We begin Moon Knight with this interesting premise, this mystery about who really is Steven, what happened to make him this way, and the deeper we go into the series, the more we explore the complexity and tragedy of this man's life. The more I'm reminded this is what Disney Plus could have been for Marvel in the first place. I would say in relation, this series is very much like Andor. Moon Knight at the very least is at least consistent with its tone, something WandaVision fell off with in the last episode. If you were telling me to arguably compare the two shows, while WandaVision is going to be the more popular of the two, Moon Knight is the more consistent. But like everything Disney Plus, it reaches this underwhelming milestone in the series where it doesn't even feel like the story truly ended and you're left feeling unsatisfied, looking for more. And after a few weeks to months past, the show that briefly everyone was talking about fades from relevancy like it never existed. Will it come back? Does it have a future? Who knows, because everything Disney Plus is so temporary and fleeting. The way Disney Plus has been handled has been a mistake. It may be great for the nostalgia catalog, but for the most part, it's showing how Disney is further struggling to connect with its audience in a meaningful way that lasts longer than it trends on Twitter or TikTok. When I think of Disney Plus, I don't think of quality shows. I think of a platform with a good back catalog, but almost no incentive to have it, especially now that prices are going up and most of the content is not that good or even not new. Disney Plus is not creating long-lasting stories that will withstand the test of time. They're creating content, YouTube clips, highlight reels, TikTok compilations, and Twitter cloud posts. They are mass-producing so much content like it's a generic product that the audience is becoming more and more apathetic to many of their other projects. This is not just my opinion either. This is an opinion shareholders and data analysts are noticing. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not saying none of these things about Disney Plus are without merit or nobody worked hard on them. What I am saying is that they are just not doing what the platform platform needs. 1 or 2 shows performing decently for the platform isn't going to help. Disney Plus is actively hurting the Disney brand, and at the moment, just a sad disappointment of what Disney could be and costing them a lot of money. This goes beyond Disney Plus on a narrative level. We can agree to disagree about the merit of all these stories till we're blue in the face, but once you look past the hardcore consumer perspective and at the business and cultural perspective, Disney Plus has been hurting Disney for multiple reasons. Disney Plus is not doing well. Despite gaining many subscribers for it, Disney Plus has still lost them $1.5 billion. Disney itself hitting its lowest shares in 2 years. Despite Iger's return being held as a return to form by the ignorant and the influencer crowd, Disney shares have returned to the exact same number they were during Chapek's time. Chapek inherited the issues Iger left behind and eventually became a fall guy for the masses to think he solely caused all the problems. I'm sorry, Disney has had issues long before Chapek was even a twinkle in Tony Stark's eye. Trying to make back their losses, Disney Plus has raised their prices and introduced a tier system in an attempt to compete with Netflix, ironically causing many people to become hesitant about keeping Disney Plus or even getting it in the first place until they feel like they can or want to get it back. What many fail to realize when they talk about the streaming wars is that while Netflix is far from a perfect platform, usually in the news for some type of controversy, it has established itself as a must-have streaming platform with its original content and its back catalog that reaches way past a niche audience or fandoms to the general audience. You have shows like Stranger Things, you have shows like Wednesday, you have shows like This Abomination that do numbers. They have big time directors and showrunners going directly to them due to how much creative freedom people have depending on their contracts. For all the problems Netflix has going for it, there are still more benefits to having Netflix than there is with Disney Plus. Then you have Amazon, which is doing pretty good. It helps that everyone under the sun has a need to have Amazon due to it being a part of our daily lives. My parents have Amazon, they don't even watch anything on it, but they have it. And Amazon knows how to market their streaming platform. They will put advertisements for it on your packaging. Apple may be left out of the conversation more often than not when it comes to streaming platforms, but it produces a lot of consistent quality content. It has a lot of A-list actors on there and has a lot of A-list directors on there as well, which is a giant pull for audiences. And these are all things when compared to Disney Plus, it does not have. Disney Plus has not proved itself as a must-have platform like Netflix, nor is it something everyone will end up having anyway thanks to Amazon, and it hasn't produced quality, consistent content like Apple. This also ties into why Disney Plus isn't attracting much talent behind the camera or in front of it. Number 1, Disney rarely believes in creative control. Unlike Netflix, Amazon, Apple, which can provide their creators with a certain level of creative control from the content they put out to the length of it, that is never promised with Disney Plus. In fact, most Disney Pluses are really short unless they're Disney Plus movies, especially on the Lucasfilm side that has spent most of the 2010s burning through so many filmmakers with their creative control problems. Number 2, due to the audience for Disney Plus struggling and the reasons above, signing up for Disney Plus just isn't that appealing for actors in high demand who have already established themselves. That's not me saying Disney Plus doesn't have big names on it, but they are very limited to how many of the big names they can use and how they use them. 3, on top of the above 2 reasons, Disney doing budget cuts and the hiring freeze will make it even harder for that talent to sign up with Disney Plus. At the end of the day, unless you have the job security of being an actor for a franchise character with Marvel Studios, it is a gamble to sign with Disney Plus, especially if you're signing up for Lucasfilm, who lack any transparency about what they will be doing with the future of their franchise. Beyond the we're having talks, we want, but they don't really do that much. And all of this works into how Disney Plus has failed culturally. The original programs are just not attracting a wider audiences despite all the attempts Disney tries with puff pieces and social media influencers. Wow, who would think that would fail? Disney has spent too long trying to position itself as successful through PR by buying up IPs and opinions, but in that time they have significantly become more derivative in the eyes of the public creatively. Also, their virtue signaling in terms of diversity and representation in the media has often come off as tone deaf when done in a superficial way, which is usually how it does it, and it really only impresses other people who are virtue signaling or people with no standard for representation at all. That's not to say it's all bad, just most of it. These problems have caused people to turn elsewhere for the stories that will provide them with what they want, and we've talked about this here and there, but this has had severe consequences for Disney Plus. Disney in general isn't known for must-see television. They're not really even known for must-see movies anymore outside of Marvel Studios, which is again become very questioning during Phase 4. The best performing shows on Disney Plus in terms of views are still seen as production and narrative messes that wouldn't even be talked about if it wasn't for the brand loyalty of Disney and the IPs under it. Something that may have gotten them by once or twice, but everyone and their mothers, plus Frank the FBI agent, has wised up to it. Less people are excited to watch these shows when they come out. Instead, they binge it when it's over, or they just don't watch it at all and just put it on their to-do list, their watch list that they might never get to. Yes, Andor was beautifully made in comparison to the other Disney Plus shows, but the rest of the public, the GA, doesn't have their eyes only fixated on whatever Disney does with Star Wars. It's nothing new. But Okiro, Andor Andor is peak. Andor sweep. Doesn't matter Andor good. Why aren't people watching Andor? People do that. Shut the f up. Congratulations, Disney fans. You've had your first taste of quality television. And guess what? Not everyone is going to watch it because that's what happens all the time. There are critically acclaimed shows that blow Andor and many other popular shows out of the water in writing, and they don't get watched the same way. There are shows written worse than Andor that blow it out of the water in views. Welcome to the streaming wars. And guess what? The GA is not going to watch everything. Oh, well, I like everything. I can make time for anything. Good for you. You have the luxury that not many in the GA have or will have due to not giving a flying f. And this is not even getting into the competition Disney Plus has with other shows. Want to watch a realistic and gritty sci-fi story? The Expanse beats Disney Plus in every way. Want to watch a political thriller that uses its setting to bring attention to issues that have existed throughout history and now in the modern day real world? House of the Dragon is right there, and one of the most viewed shows of the year. And so is The Boys, which is deeply infused with modern politics and is crushing it. Do you want to watch a prequel series that gives its audience a better look at a point in time or a character that may not have been as well known? House of the Dragon and Better Call Saul got you covered. Even Rings of Power, a series written far worse than Andor, beats the brakes off the series in views due to Disney Plus just not being a platform many people use in comparison to the other one. Now, this lack of an audience comes from many different reasons, but one of the biggest is that Disney Plus is not known for quality television. For the most part, they put out a lot of mediocre things. Yes, social media, especially TikTok and Twitter, will buzz with immediate praise. Influencers who want the invite to Disney set, to run the red carpet, to get a job at the company, will make it their mission to say all the right things, and they may mean it too, yet it's never gonna go beyond that. Just praise on social media. Niche audiences and fandoms are not indicative of the general audience who doesn't care about any of those initial talking points. Put this into perspective. The MCU is more popular than anything under Disney, and they still struggle with views. Speaking of the MCU, let's cover the productions of their Disney Plus shows. Marvel Studios, which was already spread way too thin in their ever-increasing supply and demand rate of film production, was spread even thinner with Disney Plus shows it wisely didn't want to invest too much time into. You can't even blame Kevin Feige for that. Marvel Studios is known to make their coin from films. It's primarily where their audience is, and despite hiccups, they know how to keep their audience and make a damn good penny when they put their big boy pants up. Investing time and money into an experimental platform, and that's what it is. An experimental platform in its early days that years later isn't doing too well isn't a wise venture for Marvel. This is probably why Iger and Feige have two vastly different opinions on how they saw Disney Plus in the beginning. Iger claimed the platform was essential for understanding the MCU, while Kevin openly said the shows would not be integral to understanding the films. And whether or not that ended up being true, let me translate that for you for those who don't talk PR film speak. Disney forcing down Disney Plus down everyone's throats due to the failure to secure the Netflix deal is not going to be the hill Marvel dies on. Despite Disney ordering more and more shows from the platform, our focus will stay on films because we can't rely solely on Disney Plus because it will bite us in the ass in the end. You could almost see why the crowd-pleasing films like Wakanda Forever in 2022 and No Way Home in 2021 were positioned at the end of their respective years, so Marvel could go out on a high note with the general audience instead of allowing She-Hulk in 2022 and Hawkeye in 2021 to be the last things the GA associated with the Marvel brand. Lucasfilm has not been that lucky. Lucasfilm hasn't made a film since 2019, which was only able to happen after years of development hell, going through 3 different writers and creative differences thanks to Bad Robot, and then throwing J.J. Abrams under the bus for their poor planning and indecisive production. Since then, their content has been purely Disney Plus because they have not been able to secure a filmmaker in years, and we still don't know if they're going to be able to secure a filmmaker as the years go on. Their shows have done better than Marvel's in views, even becoming the highest viewed shows on the platform, except for Andor and Willow, which are doing disturbingly bad in views, yet the highest viewed show on the platform that is not making money is nothing beneficial to Lucasfilm or Disney. With their multiple existing problems internally, it's unknown how long Disney Plus can be used as a crutch to support the studio itself. But Okiro, Disney Plus could make money in 2024, said Bob Chapek. Oh, so now we're listening to Bob Chapek, who before he left was planning to cut budgets and mass layoffs because Disney Plus was not working, which Iger is doing now. I'm gonna put a pin in that and come back to it in the Disney company video though. But what I will say for those who don't know anything about studios, which many superfans of Disney for some reason don't, when studios are losing money with something, they will either cut their losses or cut funding. Disney wouldn't do that. Fake laugh. That's cute. The anthology Star Wars films and the dozens of other companies and studios Disney has dissolved says hi. While Marvel Studios doesn't need Disney Plus shows to survive, they can always port whatever lesser known characters over to their special presentations or their films that are still doing well. Lucasfilm has struggled to finally make a new Star Wars film since 2017. The Last Jedi was a giant dip at the box office compared to the highest grossing film domestically of all time 7 years now in a row, The Force Awakens, and Solo's underperformance in 2018 was blamed for Disney no longer pursuing the anthology films. Lucasfilm struggling to find its footing with Star Wars still 10 years later, and Disney Plus struggling as an app is not a good combination for Lucasfilm. Hopefully Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny,
Gods, what a stupid name,
can at least bring Lucasfilm back to the movie theater, which seems to be Kathleen Kennedy's long-term plan for the studio before she eventually retires. The puff pieces may say that everything is fine with Disney Plus, yet the numbers and the lack of interest from a larger audience paint a very different picture. And despite how many may interpret my words, this is disappointing to hear. Disney Plus is an app that can be very lucrative and popular under better management, but initially, culture vulture Bob Iger and his replacement, now predecessor Jeff Bridges and Iron Man 1 looking ass Bob Chapek, were not the people who were able to fix the issues. With Bob Iger being back, it is yet to be seen how or even if he can fix the problems he created. Many tech and business analysts have recognized these hurdles, and one of them was even quoted saying, Disney Plus could probably do better with fewer end slate subscribers made up of superfans willing to pay higher rates per user. This shows that it's not even just randoms like me on YouTube who see that a good deal of consumer base for Disney Plus is tied more towards, in their own words, superfans who are willing to pay extra for Disney Plus, something many people can't do in these financially troubled times. I've seen several people say they are contemplating canceling Disney Plus due to its expenses and only picking it back up later whenever their favorite show comes back or something tickles their pickle. No, we're not doing a pickle Rick joke. Disney Plus is gaining more subscribers than many other platforms. What many aren't saying is that while they gain numbers, they also don't keep numbers, nor are those numbers helping compete with other platforms that have been around for years and have better programming to grow their brand. You have platforms that have been around for years, that have superior tech, that have superior shows, and that have already established their brand in multiple different ways. Disney Plus in its 2 to 3 years has not done that. To put it simply, you're filling a small house in Ohio that may look good on the outside, but it's filled with James Gordons on the inside, and the rare, good, heavy-hitting content that Mickey Mouse has managed to handcuff in their bathroom. Time will tell what will happen to Disney Plus. Maybe Disney's plans to expand the Indiana Jones franchise and the Doctor Who franchise will work out for the platform, but the real question is, will an audience beyond superfans still be there to care by the time that happens?
No.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you to our multiple supporters of the channel. Special shout out to Molly, Gina, Hiriko, and M, as well as all these Patreon and YouTube membership supporters. If you'd like to become a supporter of the channel and help us reach our goal of improving our hardware so we can make more videos faster, and I'd like to make more videos faster because this is really killing me, joining our channel's YouTube membership or Patreon would greatly help us. Any and all support helps, even if it's just $1, even if it's just a one-time donation through PayPal, liking, commenting, or sharing a video, or subscribing to the channel. Anything that you guys do really helps. Currently, we're working on merchandise for the channel, improving the Discord, working on private VIP videos, and many other benefits that come along with being a Patreon or YouTube supporter. No matter what you do, thanks for stopping by the channel, happy holidays, and no matter what time you're watching this, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. See you for the next video.